That was an intro in the style of the 92nd Academy Awards, Alan, because this year, like last year, they are going with no host.
Ooh.
The Oscars host is a thing of the past.
So what happens? Someone comes out and goes, I'm presenting this award, and then someone else comes out and goes, I'm presenting this award. Wow, how could that work?
Well, in the past, in the 90 years preceding, they had someone come out and say, hello, welcome to the Oscars. Now, here to present this award. It's so-and-so. And then they'd bring out someone else. So yeah, it's completely pointless having that in-between person.
All they have to do was just do that without being racist or sexist or
They couldn't
whatever.
find anyone in Hollywood. They couldn't find anyone. Yeah, we're doing the Oscars. I'm Sol. You've heard Alan there. I think I already name-dropped Alan's name-checked him.
Yes, it's our third annual Academy Awards special. Should we just quickly...
You keep saying third. I think it's our fourth, Alan.
No.
It is.
It can't be.
It is. Look, we'll go backwards, right? This is one, okay? Then last year we did Green Book and Co. That's two. The year before that we did The Shape of Water and Co.
Definitely, yeah.
And the year before that we did Moonlight and Co.
Did we do that one?
We did. We spoke about
we definitely did that
Arrival,
one,
Fences, Hacksaw Ridge, Hell or High Water, Hidden Figures, La La Land, Lion, Manchester by the Sea.
Damn. Fourth annual.
4.
That's how long.
I don't know how, but it is our fourth one. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so fourth annual Academy Awards special. So,
the best one yet.
The most distinctly average one yet. Yeah. So what we do on our Oscars specials is we watch all the Best Picture nominees. We will have a bit of discussion about other nominations, acting and stuff like that. But we always make sure that we watch all the films that have been Best Picture nominated, so we've at least got those under our belt. And that's what we're going to do today. Sol, you usually have some novel method of choosing an order in which we go. Have you got anything for us this year?
I mean, I think last year we just went alphabetically, which isn't particularly novel. One year we did it in order of how likely I think they are to win.
I like that one. But reverse.
I mean, we could do that again if you want, but it's a lot more up in the air. Or we could do it. We could do it in order of most de-aging effects used. In order of the longest take.
We could do them in chronological order of the period. There are 6.
Ooh, let's do that. Let's do that.
Period films.
Oh, I love it. Yeah,
and
let's
Joker
do that.
is kind of timeless in some sort of way, I think.
Yeah. Let's do that. Let's go. So
that would mean the first one is Little Women.
When's that one set?
1876. Something like that. 65.
All right, Little Women.
Okay, so
Little Women.
We're starting. Okay, so Little Women, of course, the classic novel written by Louisa May Alcott, primarily based on her old childhood. It's been made a few times before. Christian Bale was in it once, I remember. This version is adapted and directed by Greta Gerwig, who is something of a industry darling at the moment, isn't she?
Absolutely, she is, yeah. Tell you what, Alan, did I tell you the other day? I started listening to a podcast from the archives. I think they did 40 episodes back in about 2012 or so, maybe even a bit earlier. And it's Justin Roiland and a couple of other people. Justin Roiland, who does Rick and Morty. Yeah. So every episode is basically 2 people. It's very similar to our dynamic, actually. Every episode is 2 people sort of trying to keep the show on track, and then this guy getting bored in the background and just doing like ding dong, and then oh hey, it's me, Mr. Poopy Pants, I pooped my pants, see ya, and that's the whole show.
Very interesting.
Okay.
Wait, ask who it is first,
Yeah,
Ryan.
who is
Don't
it?
just open the door.
Hey,
Hey, it's me, Toppy.
Hi, Toppy.
Hey.
Everybody's been asking about you.
Yeah, it's me, Toppy, the
so-
topic.
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, I just sensed that you guys needed a topic for the show.
We
Well,
do.
Yeah, of course. That's what you do.
Yeah, I mean, you guys seem real bone dry for topics.
All right.
So, I got a bunch of topics for
Yeah,
you.
great. Well, let's hear them. This is so
Alright.
exciting.
Okay, I mean, I got a whole bunch of things you could talk about.
Yeah, like what?
I mean, what do you want?
Well,
What
tell
sort-
us.
No. He likes just. He wants
he
a
wants us-
category.
What
Yeah,
sort
this
of topic you looking for?
The news.
Oh, okay. I got a whole bunch of topics about the news.
Yeah, let's hear one.
I mean, like, I don't know. Like, what about, that one news item?
Which
with
one, Toppy?
I mean, it was a big deal. It was a big news item.
The oil spill?
Yeah. Oh, let's talk about the news and the oils.
Mario, can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah.
And we were just curious. We were telling some stories. How did you lose your virginity?
Oh, I won a time in World 4, a level of 3. I run 4. I run and I jump.
Uh-huh.
And there's the bullet,
The flying bullets.
the flying bullet.
Uh-huh. Very slow moving flying bullets.
He has a name, Bullet a Bill. He get me really, make me a drink. I get a really drunk. I fall asleep. Uh-huh.
Now, did you have you ever had consensual sex?
No.
We live in a. I don't want to let this person in.
I do.
Oh, all right. You know what?
Hello?
Hello, what's up? Hey, yo, my name's Psychic Ability. What's going on? Hold on.
Wow.
Don't. No, I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say, "Oh, where you from?" Right?
I was
Oh my
gonna
God.
say
I was
that.
gonna
Yep.
say that too.
Yeah, 'cause I got psychic ability, fool.
Are you a rap artist
Fuck
too?
you. Fuck you.
What?
I'm,
What?
I'm saying that because you're gonna insult me in a
No.
little bit. No, I know you are. I'm psychic ability.
Psychic ability, you ain't shit.
Yo.
Oh my God, Jackie!
Aren't you gonna leave us with a song?
Yeah, here we
Yeah,
go.
what is your music like?
Yo, I got abilities. My name is Psychic Abilities. I'm a Philides. Yo, I'm a Trillides. Hey, yo, Gillides. I'm a Gillides. I got abilities.
Don't
I'm
be
not
illities around psychic
Hey,
abilities.
hey, yo, what the fuck, fool? Why you jumping in on my fucking game?
And anyway, they had a mumblecore film star on the other day. The guy was in a mumblecore movie or two, and he was just talking about, oh yeah, like, and I should add, this show, it was made before they were like famous, so they're just there like talking about, oh, when Greta's doing this and Greta that. Yeah, I saw Greta the other day, blah blah blah. And I thought, oh shit, yeah, that must be Greta Gerwig. She came up through the mumblecore scene, didn't she? Are you familiar with mumblecore, Alan?
Yeah.
Seems like something you'd be into, actually. Seems like something you'd like. Because you're like that. You're difficult.
Yeah, maybe not.
No?
I like the concept of it.
I mean, it's Dogma 95, isn't it? But
Exactly,
not
yeah,
shot as
yeah.
nicely. Not done as well.
But yeah, it's not done as well. That's the problem.
But yeah, Greta Gerwig did come up through the mumblecore scene. I believe she was more of an actor than a filmmaker. But of course, she did Lady Bird a couple of years back.
Yeah, she only made
Wrote-
one film prior to that. as
Yeah,
a
wrote
director.
and directed it.
But then, yeah, so she has a pretty good record.
I liked Lady Bird, but
Mm-hmm.
I did kind of feel like maybe the direction was nothing remarkable, and maybe it was kind of a film I've seen 1,000 times before in different ways, and done nicely, but it didn't blow me away. Nothing about it really stood out to me.
Yeah, I
And
agree with
at the risk of sounding like an angry little incel, I think it was given a bit of a visibility boost due to the politicization of it having a female writer-director at the helm. Not that I'm, dismissing it at all. I like the film, but
I know what you're saying, but I also think, it's not that out of kilter. It's not an obvious box tick.
it's the kind of film that, had it come out 5 years earlier, I think it would have got nominated for Best Original Screenplay, and that would have been it. Maybe Saoirse Ronan, but I don't think it would have been quite as much of a heavyweight. But anyway, that sort of shaped my opinion going into Little Women. There were lots of nominations for other awards coming out, such as the BAFTAs, before I saw Little Women. And there were lots of people decrying the lack of attention for the film, the lack of a director nod. I kind of thought, if Lady Bird's anything to go off, fair enough. Having seen this film, the direction is actually pretty fucking impressive for a second film, a sophomore film effort. I've really got to hand it to her. I think Greta Gerwig is a very good director, and I'm actually quite excited to see what else she brings us in the future. Because this is, it's a significant change of style. I mean, I didn't really know what to expect. Little Women, I've never read it. I've never seen the other film adaptations. All I know of it is the Simpsons episode where Moe is reading it to some kids in a hospital.
And then they realized they were no longer little girls. They were little women.
And I've since found out from friend of the show, Emily Slade, that is not the final line of the book. They were doing a joke. So I really didn't know anything beyond the title.
I can see a connection there, as opposed to being a totally different style. But it is a very different feeling film. Although, it is about young women growing up, dealing with family issues and stuff. I didn't particularly enjoy the film.
Right.
But I think that's down to the material rather than how it's handled.
Yeah, you didn't like a strong, independent woman in a film. Is that correct, Alan?
If only that's what I got, I'd be all right. I think... Okay, so a major thing to take into account here in terms of the adaptation is that the structure we have here cuts back and forth from sort of their childhood to them being several years older, and we're jumping back and forth between them, which is not how it is in the book. The book is a linear narrative, as far as I understand. In fact, what is known as Little Women is two books, one that was written about these children growing up, and then the second one that was a follow-on after it was a big success.
Oh,
so
I didn't know that.
Well, from what I understand, basically, Louisa May Alcott's publisher was like, write something that'll appeal to girls. And she was like, I don't know what appeals to girls. And he was like, well, you were a girl. So she just sort of tossed something off that was based on when she was a kid and her sisters. And it's just this nice little story about them living and like waiting for their dad to come back from the war, and her sister got ill, but she got through it and is all right. It's all just sort of nice pastoral nonsense. It becomes this big surprise hit. So then she writes another one, which is like them getting older, and I guess she wants to beef it up a bit. And so, one of them dies and bad things happen, and it's sort of love story and all that. And then even within that, the second book, the character that is based on her is writing a book about her childhood. So she's like writing
I
the
didn't
first
realise
book.
that. Okay.
So it's kind of even...
I thought this film added in some mad meta angle.
It takes that on. Yeah. But as I understand, that's in the book as well. But yeah, it does take that on very much. And I think the flitting between the two doesn't necessarily help the story in any way. I think it might just make it a bit less flat and boring.
I kind of agree with you. To jump in, I was surprised at how much I loved certain scenes within this film. I absolutely loved just individual moments and pieces. But then we jump to something else and it would be kind of dull and uninteresting. And having finished the film, the stuff I loved was all about Saoirse Ronan, trying to get a book written, trying to get published, dealing with the publisher. It was all this like self-aware meta stuff. So I kind of agree, actually. I think I would have much preferred it if that had been the whole film. It almost felt watered down to me that we then had to go and sit with Emma Watson for 10 minutes. And...
Well, that's another issue. But I think that's the problem. I think that first half, when they are kids before the dad comes home, is
Who's the dad, Alan?
Bob Odenkirk. Surprise! But that first half, I think it is just quite boring. It's kind of a nothingy thing, but it just sort of chimed with young girls at the time that they could relate to it. Perhaps at a time when there was nothing else for them in the mid 19th century. Okay, so. But now it just feels like nothing happening. And so they've tried to balance that out by throwing the two halves of the story, interweaving them. But it never feels like that's adding anything. So yeah, another problem perhaps is, and from what I understand, this comes from the books as well, is that Jo, which is the character played by Saoirse Ronan and the kind of the main voice of the story, she... everything's focused on her really, and the other characters get somewhat sidelined. The problem with that is that it feels like it's trying to do more of an ensemble thing. But then you've got the one girl who gets ill, so she doesn't really get to do much. But then they still have her with her own storylines about the piano and everything. You've got Emma Watson, who they may as well have just fucking edited out of the film because it's obviously what they wanted to do.
Well, they obviously thought, this character, she's barely in it, who cares?
We'll put the name
Well,
on
if we put Emma Watson in, we'll get like loads of people will come and see it for Emma Watson. Oh yeah, and then we can give her like 2 lines and call it a day. Brilliant, yeah. And fair play to them. Emma Watson's in this film and she doesn't manage to ruin it like she does with every other film she's in.
Do you know what though?
By being a terrible actor. So fair play.
I was thinking, she's all right. She's doing okay in this. And then there was a couple of lines or a couple of scenes where she just did something. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, don't let her speak.
Yeah. And we'll come back to this, but Florence Pugh is in it as well.
Oh, I love Florence Pugh. My new favourite. So glad she's been recognised.
Let's come back to that in a sec. Yes. So, and then you got Laura Dern's in it. It's totally wasted.
My other new favourite. I've come round on Laura Dern. I like her now.
But anyway, I guess my point is that I just didn't get enough out of this. And really my big problem with this is that it feels like the message is, you're a young woman. It's okay to have dreams. Have big aspirations. Settle, get married. And don't do anything with your life, but have dreams, that's fine, as long as you get married at the end. And it even kind of...
I don't think that was the message.
But that's what happens. And it gives the Jo character this married life ending that it totally does not warranted in the story at all. And they basically turn to camera and wink and go, look, we know this is completely wrong, but... it's a happy ending, isn't it? That's what pays the bills, which is what happens in the book, right? That's what.
Yeah, I think that's the issue. I think what actually happened there was they turned to camera and went, right, now look, this is something that happens in this book that we're adapting and means a lot to us as filmmakers. So we don't want to fuck about with it too much, and it probably means a lot to a lot of you watching this film. So we are going to keep the ending intact, but we're going to completely reframe it from a meta standpoint where we're kind of criticizing the decision to include that ending in the original text.
I don't think it is.
And we're kind of removing it from being part of reality so that it's ambiguous as to whether or not that's even what actually happens within the story of this film, or if you're just kind of seeing an imagined version fictionalized within the book being written by the character. I think it was actually an ingenious way of handling it, because the alternative would be just change the ending of the book, and that would be upsetting for people.
No, I think you change the end of the book. If that story doesn't tell them what you want it to do, you can go, fuck it, it's not 1865 anymore. I can give it this different ending. That's exactly what you can do. And if you want to make a point about, well, in 1865 women had to get married, then make that point. Don't make the point of all the way through, this character doesn't have to get married, this character doesn't have to get married. Oh, she got married. It's okay, she fell in love with this person she barely knows. It's just, like, even if the ending had been, well, I've got to get married because that's what I've got to do and that's what life is.
Yeah, like Kez has got to go down the mines.
Because it's 1865, that's fair enough.
Oh wait, no, Kez is the bird, isn't he? Kez isn't the boy.
But that's not the ending it gives it. It tries to wrap it up as a happy ending, yeah. It tries to wrap it up like it's some nice little gift-wrapped ending, and it is so unsatisfying and frustrating to watch. And then the love triangle thing was all total bollocks, and it was just. I think it's down to the source material, frankly, but it really frustrated me, and that was kind of annoyed me more than anything else.
But that's it. This felt like a truly modern adaptation of difficult, old, outdated source material, and it did it without obviously modernizing it, without giving them guns that had sword written on it, without we're gonna have to do Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet one day, just so that I can slate it. But it felt authentic, but from a modern voice, and I think it really walked a delicate balance very well.
Well, I guess I just think it kind of was trying to walk a balance and then just fell on its face right in the last minute. But the problem with that is that it wasn't like I was really enjoying the film and it was a great piece of cinema, and then I was frustrated by the ending. I thought it was quite average anyway, so it's not even like it wasn't wowing me anyway. And nothing wrong with it, but it's why I want it to be saying something different to the last time Little Women was made, or the last sort of period drama that's just telling this kind of pastoral story. And
I think by reframing it the way that it does, it is now saying, well, this is what's expected from people, and sometimes you have to make compromises and accept the shitty side of society to get anywhere in life.
When does it do that?
When she has to completely fuck with her artistic vision, to change the end of her book so that it has a completely different meaning than the one that she's trying to imbue it with.
Yeah, but it's not like there's this big kind of crisis going on, her conscience, or like her kind of struggling with the philosophy of art versus capitalism. Yeah, it's just a publisher goes,
she's got to get paid, got to pay them bills. She's like, right, if you're going to do that, give me some more money. Yeah. Good on you, fair enough. Take the check and run. That's the message of this film. Sell out. And I'm fine with that. I think that's a valid point of view.
All right.
Alan, I've actually had a message from Acast that they'll give us some sponsorship if we end this episode with a marriage between the two of us.
Fair enough. I'll do it. Okay, so let's talk about the actors. Emma Watson we've dealt with. Saoirse Ronan, very good.
Yeah, I thought she was great.
The other sister is Eliza Scanlon, who's perfectly good. Again, didn't really do that much, but good in what she does. And so Florence Pugh is the last sister playing Amy. Now, interesting. So as we say, this film takes place over a sort of a time period of about 7 or 8 years, something like that. I think it's supposed to be. The characters are supposed to go from like 12, 14, 15, 16 up to 1923, right? I think Florence Pugh is the only one who manages to nail that. The only one who, in the younger scenes, seems like a child, and in the older scenes, seems like a young adult. From little girl to little woman, if you dare say. Whereas the others just feel like the same the whole way through.
I agree with that. Florence Pugh really stood out to me in this, and I think that was part of it, but I must say I wasn't really paying attention to how old they were supposed to be at the start, so I kind of just thought she was like a petulant little, like, immature idiot, because I didn't realise that she wasn't meant to be in her 20s.
Yeah, well, that's part of the problem, because she's supposed to be 12, and she's like 25, or whatever she is. So, yeah, they don't particularly look the right age.
So if we are doing this in order of de-aging effects, this is in the right place.
This is in the worst spot. So I really liked her, though. Yeah, she's obviously a great talent, and stood out, definitely. And I had no idea that she was that I'd seen her in anything before when I looked her up, and she's in Fighting with My Family, and it was just like, oh wow, that is such a totally different performance. That's good. That's good in an actor to have that kind of adaptability.
Well, yeah, I think we spoke about her on the Diminisode we put out about the Oscar noms this year. Available at patreon.com/dimreturns. But it bears saying again, I've been amazed at how Florence Pugh has just appeared out of nowhere last year. Don't think I ever saw her in anything before, and then suddenly I watched Fighting with My Family, Midsummer, and Little Women. Really took note of her in all three. Three very different performances. Well, I was going to say I expect to see big things for her in the future, but I mean, fucking hell, she's Oscar nominated, of course. Like, it's not even a prediction at this point. And you know, I think we might have even said that we kind of expected decent stuff for her career when we spoke about Fighting with My Family on our Diminisode about that, but I don't think either of us would have anticipated it would lead to an Oscar nomination at the following Oscars. I think we were talking like, you know, maybe another decent comedy, maybe a Judd Apatow movie or something, you know. Yeah.
So, okay, we got Laura Dern. Let's just save our talk for when we do Marriage Story, because she doesn't do that much here. But the other big character in this is Timothée Chalamet, who I'm a big fan of since we did Call Me By Your Name on another Oscars episode 2 years ago, was that?
Yeah.
I've liked him in everything I've seen. So I think he's great. I do want to see him doing something a bit different. Like, he does this kind of mopey, sunken-eyed teenager thing kind of really well. So, but I think he is a good actor. I do want to see him mature a little bit.
I think the acting all round was very good for the most part, other than Emma Watson.
Yeah.
I think just all round I was impressed with how enjoyable a film it was. I kind of went into it thinking it was going to be a slog. Like I say, I loved individual scenes and plot strands within it. Other ones were a bit more dry. You could probably edit it down into a short film that I absolutely love, like a half hour following the writer, or you could have done a film about that and I probably would have really liked it, but as it stands it was a bit messier, but I did like it, and it makes me think a lot more of Greta Gerwig, and I am interested to see what she does next. I give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, well, not to go over what I've said previously, I gave it 5 out of 10.
Ooh. Right, we're jumping forward, Alan. We better hop in.
Yeah. We came to 1865 before we started the show, so that's why you haven't heard any sound effects yet.
Yeah. Just to say, well, it's 1855 is very quiet.
So we got to jump forward to 1917.
Which time machine should we use?
The one from Bill and Ted.
All right,
because we'll be covering that this year, surely. Are they still making that new Bill and Ted film? That's still going ahead?
Yeah. I think they're
good. We'll be covering that this year at some point.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
These are the circuits of history, gentlemen. They'll take us to any point in time we wish.
Oh, it's 1917. Ooh. Oh no! There's shooting and bombs.
It's a right mess around here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dear.
Uh,
So, 1917. Now, that date, Saul, is a big clue to the film that we're covering next.
Okay. Is it Joker?
It's 1917. So 1917. This is a biggie. I think we're talking potential winner here.
Yeah, I if I was putting money on it, this is my money for film that's going to win this year. I was really impressed with it, actually. I thought you couldn't even notice the loading screens. No lag at all. Very smooth gameplay. Really impressive. I thought there was a good variety within each level as well. A whole thing in the war, walking from one place to another, that's going to get boring. But there was the level with the water and the river. There was the level with all the lights going mad. There was the level at the end where all the bombs were going. Yeah, cave level. It was good. Could have done with like a lava level, like Sonic the Hedgehog style, but can't have everything. And I thought Benedict Cumberbatch was a really good like end of level boss. So
sort of Dr. Robotnik.
But all joking aside, Alan, it's not a video game, even though it plays like one. It's a film done in one take, or at least with the illusion of two takes. And I kind of thought going in, it's a gimmick, who cares? And it kind of is, but I do think it adds a lot to kind of put you there in the experience and go on this journey with the characters. I sort of just expected this film to be Dunkirk again, and Dunkirk was another film that I said felt exactly like a video game. It just felt like a VR experience. I was really quite impressed with how much story and character and emotion they were able to put into this film to say it was following the same framework. And I suppose Dunkirk is Christopher Nolan, who is, very cold, detached filmmaker, and that just comes through, whereas Sam Mendes is obviously a much warmer, more emotionally driven filmmaker. So I suppose that is the difference there.
I will say, though, I think for me, that was still an issue. The same way I felt with Dunkirk, that I just did not connect with it emotionally at all. I did still have that problem here. Definitely there's more emotion here, and they put more effort into that. But I still didn't really connect. And that's what was missing from this for me.
I think I did connect quite well, and I'll put it down almost entirely to George McKay's performance, which I was really impressed with. I'd seen him nominated for something, and I was complaining about it because I was like, "Fuck off!" Like, it's a big one-take movie, and he's just some guy running in front of camera. So I'll take it back. He's doing a lot of acting, and he's very good in it, and I think he does very well to hold the camera as much as he does when the focus is on him, which is quite often.
Yeah, and it is a very minimalist thing in terms of acting. It's very natural, and he's kind of a stiff upper lip British army guy who can't quite show emotions, in front of everyone. So there's just these kind of moments of breaking. And not just because, I can't show emotion, just because he's in a situation where he needs to keep going. He just needs to keep going. And I think the film and his performance in general really portrayed fatigue very well. Just in that kind of so tired, like concussed and beaten up, and in a way that wasn't very visual, like as in, it's not like Bruce Willis in Die Hard, he's like dripping in blood. It was not visceral. It was kind of through performance and through the fact that we've seen everything he's been through, and we've been through it in real time. We haven't skipped anything. We don't have to fake it because we were there. And I think that really comes across nicely.
If I have any major complaints, number one, don't make such a big song and dance about doing it in one take, and then make it so blatantly obvious where all the cuts are.
I mean, I just think what you were saying, is it a gimmick? Yeah, I think it is, and I think it is unnecessary, because just in the sense of having a dozen cuts in the film, like we do have, but having them more visible wouldn't matter.
Exactly.
Yes, you're not doing a reverse shot over shoulder stuff, but you don't have to go to such trouble to hide it. You don't have to. I mean, there's quite a lot of shots there. I was like, I don't know how they did that. I don't know how that camera movement was made. I assume there's some CGI removal of like equipment that you would otherwise.
There were huge rigs and cranes and things being, cameras being hoisted onto bits of equipment and then taken off, and
but it's done really nice. So that you can't argue with that. But the effect it has from a filmmaking point of view and a director's point of view is that it means the camera movements are very fluid, and the camera movements are conscious, you know, in so much as they are motivated by what the characters are doing and seeing. It is like another person walking around with them.
Yeah.
I didn't get that feeling like, oh, I'm there with them, but it does affect the way that you see it, because it's not what you expect as cinema. It's not like, here's a thing, here's a close-up to show what you're supposed to be looking at.
Yeah.
It is more experiential, I suppose.
Yeah, here's Mark Strong's legs.
Oh, yeah, exactly, yeah. Who's that voice? I recognise it.
That's my other complaint is I thought the actors' cameos being dropped in were a bit mishandled.
Distracting.
Colin Firth...
Not necessary, frankly.
Well, yeah, Colin Firth pops up. That scene, you're just like, oh, it's Colin Firth. And you kind of forget that he's telling you something. And then he's fucked off again immediately. Then Andrew Scott appears. And to be fair, that's the first time I've seen Andrew Scott in something. And I was really impressed with him, actually, I have to say.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting, because I thought the exact opposite.
Really? He has, 3 or 4 minutes of screen time in this film?
Yeah.
And he's not... Everything I've ever seen Andrew Scott in the past, he's been big. Oh, hello there. I'm going to go a little bit crazy. What don't you know there, Sherlock and Mr. Fleabag? I'm going over here. Oh, you don't say. Whereas in this, it was just dialed down. And I thought it was this really lively performance, but without being that annoying, over the top. I was really quite impressed with him.
That's interesting. Yeah, I also have never seen Andrew Scott in anything that I thought was good, even though he's a very renowned actor. I think he's better on stage, basically. I think that's what he's renowned for. But I didn't particularly like him in this either. I thought he did stand out. It felt too big for this, even if it was dialed down. I still think what he was doing was too theatrical. I think he's a stage actor and he hasn't adjusted.
I liked it here. This was the level I wanted all the acting to be at in this one.
I also liked George McKay, just for the record. I thought he was great. The other guy who's in it at the beginning, an actor called Dean Charles Chapman,
yeah.
I thought was a bit shit. No, I don't want to judge too harshly, but it definitely just didn't come across as amazing. I wasn't bothered about him.
I thought he was
Never
fine.
seen him in anything else,
I didn't...
Yeah,
I wasn't bothered either way. But I mean, George McKay is the one who really stood out to me. But then, he's the guy who got the lead, so makes sense.
I've seen George McKay in one other thing. He's in Sunshine on Leith, the musical based on the Proclaimers songs.
I mean, basically, I loved it, and I thought it was absolutely visually stunning, breathtaking visually. But I went into it thinking all the cinematography accolades it was getting were just, it's the gimmick, it's been done in one take, quote unquote. But then I sat down to watch it and, no, it's breathtaking to look at. And it's not just the cinematography, but the set design as well, and the production design. Just in the early stuff, when they're walking through those trenches, the detail and the sets behind them. And I think that's why it felt like a video game, and does feel like a video game to so many people, is that it's that same experience of when you're a kid and you're around at a friend's house and you're watching your friend play a video game and you're both taking in this exploration experience and looking at all the details and exploring. But anyway, I just thought it was absolutely stunning. And then the credits rolled and it said cinematography by Roger Deakins. And I thought, okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it seems like an absolute lock for the Oscar for cinematography.
Yeah, and rightly so.
Yeah, rightly so. It does kind of take the time to enjoy it as well.
Yeah.
Particularly the nighttime scenes where he's walking through a bombed out town where there's fire glowing.
Visually incredible.
The really interesting thing about it was that because there was flares going off, the light sources are much closer than you would expect from moonlight or anything like that. So the buildings were lit up really artificially, which usually in film looks odd, and it did look odd. It looked like a model, but then he's walking through it. It was really weird thing to see, but yeah, just visually beautiful and interesting. And
I really liked it. I give it an 8 out of 10.
I did enjoy it. I must admit that it feels more like appreciation of cinema rather than a great personal enjoyment, although I did enjoy it. I did give it an 8 out of 10. I would say that's quite a low 8. It was pretty touch and go.
I would like to welcome it into my top 10 films of 2019 list. This is now...
I guess we'll be getting that at the end of the episode.
Oh yeah, you want the full one? I won't tell you where it's gone
Not
in.
yet. Well, not yet, because we might have some more coming in, right?
Yeah, but I think...
Don't give it away.
Okay. All right. Moving on, because we've got another 7 films to talk about. Better hop in the time machine.
Okay, what time machine are we going to use now?
We're jumping forward to the next war, World War. Have we got a war-themed time machine we can use?
No.
Let's use the one out of the time machine, the classic H.G. Wells one.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of levers involved.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Pull that one, and I'll crank this.
Here we go.
So it's doing something.
Dials, compass here.
All right.
Things, tapping things.
All right. All right. There we go.
Suddenly, in 1940, I began to be buffeted from side to side. My first thought was that the machine had a mechanical defect or a part had worn out. The last time I had stopped was in 1917, 23 years ago. And the war with Germany was still waging. Now in the air with flying machines. Then I realized the truth of the matter. This was a new war.
Look, there's a sort of vaguely ethnic-looking Hitler, so I think we're in the right era.
We've not only travelled through time, we've also travelled from somewhere in Belgium or France, probably wherever that is, in 1917. To Germany, somewhere, an unnamed city in Germany. Here we are. For Jojo Rabbit. Now, I have to say, Jojo Rabbit was one of the films where I saw the trailer, was like, oh, that looks like it's going to be fun. I'm up for that.
Out of every film nominated this year, this was the one I was most excited to watch based on hearing.
You're a big Taika Waititi.
Yeah, based on hearing it was going into production. This was the one I was most excited about. And I'll admit that excitement kind of waned by the time it came to actually watch the film, because I'd seen enough press and promo materials to kind of lower that excitement. But
yeah, I mean...
And I do love Taika Waititi, you're right. I'm a big fan of his work.
I only saw this a couple of days ago, and I've been thinking it over. I don't know what it is. Like, what? I don't know why. I don't know why it's being Oscar nominated. I guess, like, if this was a silly sort of throwaway comedy, a different take on this era with a slightly, with a kind of poignant edge to it. Yeah. Why is it even in the discussion of awards? I don't understand, really.
Because it's a time where saying Nazis are bad is a bold statement. And I suppose it attempts to humanise...
Is that where we're at in life?
Yeah, sadly it is. And I completely agree with you, because, if this is Oscar nominated, where was the Oscar nomination for What We Do in the Shadows and, like, Taika Waititi's good films? Where was the Oscar nomination for Eagle versus Shark?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I'll come out and say it. This is my least favourite of this year's Best Picture nominations. I was very unimpressed with it. I love Taika Waititi. I love the concept. But, I mean, what is the concept? You're making a silly comedy set in Nazi Germany following a young boy who is a Nazi because he's been brainwashed, grown up with all the propaganda, and then he kind of meets a Jew and learns to... realizes that Jews are people too, and it's heartwarming. And that I'm all on board
Hitler
with.
as an imaginary friend, it's like that's a great setup. That's a great concept.
But they sold it on the premise of Taika Waititi playing imaginary Hitler, slam dunk, hilarious. And I think in practice it's actually not very interesting or funny.
I mean, he should have done the New Zealand accent. That would have,
for a start,
been a hell of a lot better.
It would have been far more... I think that's it. I think maybe Taika Waititi is only funny when he has the New Zealand accent. Because I've been wondering this about Rhys Darby for a while. I love Rhys Darby. I think he's hilarious. But I do wonder if it's just the accent and the funny voice.
It is. Definitely is. No, I actually thought Taika Waititi was good as the character he was playing because he did manage to bring the kind of aggression of Hitler to it when he was doing the speeches and stuff. He obviously looked at the hand gestures and all that. But then he played it at a level where it is the embodiment of a child's mind. It is an imaginary friend. I actually thought that character worked really nicely. And really? I think he did a good performance with it, yeah. The film felt like a silly throwaway comedy that was making a couple of little jabs about, how bad war is and, the humanity involved. But even that didn't particularly play. I didn't get a sense of, Sam Rockwell, he might be a Nazi, but, he saved this little kid. He's not all bad, is it?
Yeah, that didn't play at all.
Because he never comes across as a Nazi in the first place. Do you know what I mean?
I thought Scarlett Johansson was a bit crap and wasted.
Oh, I tell you what. The fact that Scarlett Johansson has been nominated for an Oscar for this
it's
is
offensive.
Laughable. It's offensive. That award, that Best Supporting Actress award, is so ridiculous sometimes. Why can't they sort that out? There are enough fucking supporting female performances out there that you can pick 5 good ones.
Christ! Swap Scarlett Johansson out right now. Swap her out for Shuzhen Zhao. I said in our nominations episode that the woman who plays Nai Nai in The Farewell, she's phenomenal in that film. Swap her out for the woman from Uncut Gems, who's like a brand new debut performance. Julia Fox. Swap her out for Julia Fox from Uncut Gems. Put Billy Lord in from Booksmart. You want to nominate some comedy? Billy Lord was fantastic in Booksmart.
We're going to come on to Scarlett Johansson in Marriage Story, in which we'll be very complimentary about her. It's not about her, but there's just nothing here. There's nothing here for her to do. She couldn't do it any better, but there's nothing there that's award-worthy. She's barely in it.
Yeah. It's just, what Scarlett Johansson done this year? Any of them award contenders? Well, this one's kind of an awards contender. Done.
But I don't understand that either, so... Ridiculous and offensive. It is offensive.
And I agree.
I
think this film wastes the vast majority of its cast, honestly. Or at least it's just... None of it really works for me. The only cast member who really worked for me was Stephen Merchant as the Nazi officer Duritz, which was just inspired within the kind of awkward German accent world that this film presents us with. That really did work for me. He looks like a gangly, creepy German Nazi officer.
Yeah, it looks like SS. Yeah.
He's got a funny voice.
It looks like Gestapo, doesn't it?
Yeah, that worked really well. And there were some good jokes in the film that I enjoyed, but
there's the odd moments. I only laughed out loud once. It was that shot where Sam Rockwell is just in shot and then Stephen Merchant hoves into view and is looming over him, and that was what I laughed at. I don't know why.
At the end of the day, I couldn't escape from comparing it to Life is Beautiful in my head.
Yeah.
And that's a comparison there is no way on earth the people making this film were not aware of when they made it. So the fact that it is such a 2-bit, just not
But this is a
good
caricature comedy, whereas Life is Beautiful is not. And and even the attempts at kind of the sort of the more emotional moments, I guess, or the more...
Oh my God, the big emotional beat, which no point spoiling, because anyone who's seen the film knows what I'm talking about. The big emotional beat was so hacky and just obvious, and then when it happened, it was just this melodrama. And again, it just made me think, well, I've seen Life is Beautiful, and that was a legitimately tear-jerking film, whereas this is we've basically been watching Walk Hard set in Nazi Germany, but not as funny for an hour and 15 minutes, and now you're expecting me to cry at it.
Yeah, and again,
you can't do that.
Also, you're also relying on like a fucking 7-year-old to put whatever he is to get that across. And as much as he does a fine job, like that's complex emotional acting that you need to do.
Yeah, I was very unimpressed, honestly, and I just wanted more, because I do love Taika Waititi. This is my least favourite Taika Waititi film.
Yeah.
The only moment that I particularly liked was the one I referenced in our quiz in our Review of the Year episode, which is the use of the German version of I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles at the start, with all the archive footage of Hitler's fans cut together to look like a Beatles, Beatlemania montage. I thought that was the kind of inspired little moment that the film needed more of and just didn't really have. And I didn't think it was particularly well directed or I really wasn't particularly, I wasn't impressed with it. Really disposable, uninspired comedy. Could have been a lot better. I mean, not bad, but just a very weak 6 out of 10 from me.
Yeah, kind of similar. I went slightly better. I think basically just watching it was a perfectly enjoyable thing. It was just like, I don't understand why it's getting anything more than that. I gave it a pretty low 7. It also gets a thumbs up for me for being, I think, the only one under 2 hours of these. Like, it is okay to make films under 2 hours, guys.
Is it, Alan? Because our next film is, I want to do it in minutes. 209 minutes long.
That sounds like a lot.
Yeah, we better jump in the old the toaster that Homer Simpson tries to fix, and he does such a bad job that it ends up traveling through time.
Oh.
Now to take her for a test toast. And what the? Look at that! I'm the first non-Brazilian person to travel through time.
Correction, Homer. You're the second.
That's right, Mr. Peabody.
Quiet, you.
Ooh, it's 1949.
Oh, yes, Hitler's been defeated. Yay!
Yeah, so long, Taika. We're here to enjoy the comedy stylings of Ray Romano in The Irishman.
Okay, yeah. So, The Irishman, Martin Scorsese's latest take on the gangster genre.
It's like to use another video game metaphor. It's like they brought out this game called Sonic Mania a few years ago, and it was basically Sonic the Hedgehog 4. It was like looks exactly the same as the old Sonic games, but maybe a tiny bit better because the graphics, like you can do more within the same graphical style nowadays. But it was 16-bit, and it had old school Sonic music, and it was just like 2D classic Sonic made by people who love old school Sonic. And it was like a remix of the old games. They even went back to some old levels. And this is the Martin Scorsese equivalent of that. Swap Sonic out for Martin Scorsese. This film, they might as well have called it Martin Scorsese Mania.
Yeah, it is sort of a culmination of his life's work, isn't it? And some.
I mean, it's just. Hey, remember Goodfellas and Casino? We've done that again. Not as good, not as good, mine. But it might remind you those films exist, make you want to go back to them.
Scorsese's made headlines recently, slagging off the Marvel films and all that, and sort of lamenting how cinema's going, I suppose. And this really does feel like an old man's film. It just feels like I'm going to make like the slowest, ponderous film I can just to prove a point. It's like, this is how we made them in the 70s. That's how I'm going to make it now. And that's okay to a point. I do think just make a TV series, like at some point.
Yeah.
just accept that this could be a 4-episode miniseries.
Or just don't make it so long. Edit it.
Oh yeah, I mean there's so much in there.
Trim it down.
To be in it.
Or make a trilogy. Do it like The Godfather. Like,
don't do that.
Do it like a short Godfather.
Hire some actors that are age fucking appropriate. Okay, let's deal with that first, the aging thing, because...
I mean, this is by far the most outrageous, offensive snub of the Oscars this year. Categorically, Captain Marvel is not nominated for its visual effects. The Irishman is nominated for its visual effects. Now, based on the visual effects in The Irishman, that is exclusively down to the de-aging effects on Robert De Niro, which are, impressive insofar as it's amazing we can do that nowadays, but not impressive insofar as it looks a bit Uncanny Valley, a bit Polar Express in this film. It looked perfect in Captain Marvel and Terminator Dark Fate. Mm-hmm. But it's a big part of Captain Marvel, so that's the one that I'm going to. So give that film some fucking credit. But no, we're going with The Irishman because that's the one directed by Martin Scorsese. And it just wasn't as good.
But it's not justified, okay? So
yeah.
The only justification
it is insofar as it's an epic spanning these guys' life from 1949, 50 years into the future, isn't it?
Yeah, but if you want to show someone aged 35 to 75, you get an actor who's 55. That not 85. Like, you have to... because you want to be able to do, as much range as possible.
Yeah.
The reason he's picked these actors is because he likes these actors. He knows these actors. That's fine, but they're not right for the characters. They're not age appropriate.
I think it's partly that, and it's partly a self-aware meta thing. It's partly, this is Martin Scorsese's greatest hits, and you all want to see Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci and Al Pacino back again for one big...
Well, he's never worked with Al Pacino before, but... yeah.
What, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino?
Yeah, but Scorsese and Al Pacino have never worked together.
No, but Scorsese wants to see Al Pacino, Robert De Niro back together again as much as the rest of us.
Do we? Because of all those great films they've been in together? Like Righteous Kill?
Yeah, like all the... Is that the recent one? Is that the really, really bad one?
Yeah.
Yeah, Scorsese went, look, this should work, but it doesn't work, so let me do it. I'll do one.
It does feel like, look, I'm going to die soon. Let's get the band back together for one last show.
Yeah.
And okay, do you know what? Fair enough. And like they're all good enough actors to get away with it. So it's not, as much as I'm saying they're not appropriate for it, it's not like they're really bad performances. In fact, they do very well, obviously.
Oh, they're good. I think Robert De Niro could be better. I think he's a phenomenal actor, and this isn't a performance that made me think twice.
It's a very boring character. I think it's by design. He's a very flat character. Like, that's the idea behind it.
Al Pacino, on the other hand, gets to chew the scenery and do his usual shtick, and he's fun watching that.
Yeah,
Joe Pesci is a joy to see back on screen. I love Joe Pesci, and he's it's a good turn from him. I mean, not as good as when he was in the Wet Bandits, but
I've heard people talk about how he's so understated in this, and how he's not like blowing up and being like aggressive Joe Pesci and all that. And yeah, he's not, but he's not doing anything new here. This is what he does in his other things, but then he has that flash moment where he gets aggressive, but then he's calm again. And just in this, he never gets there, and he's got this kind of more elderly statesman vibe to it.
Yeah.
But so I don't think I was like, there's nothing like particularly groundbreaking here from Joe Pesci, but I think it's a good performance,
Yeah.
And then you
Harvey
got
Keitel's in there.
May as well not have bothered.
Yeah. Ray Romano's in there. He's great. Yeah. I love Ray Romano when he's used as an actual actor. I love it when he pops up. I love Ray Romano. I wish Everybody Loves Raymond was less shit, because I really like Ray Romano.
Yeah.
I love Raymond, I guess. Everybody does. Bobby Cannavale is in there.
Yeah,
Anna Paquin's in there.
She does nothing.
Yeah, okay. Stephen Graham's in there. Now, I love Stephen Graham, but I am not a fan of Stephen Graham trying to pretend he doesn't have a funny voice. By doing
Bobby
an
De
even
Niro,
worse
come
funny
over here. I'm going to kick your fucking head in.
Yeah, it's me doing a fucking American. Hey, we are gonna. He was doing that kind. He was trying to do this kind of American voice. This one here, and but he's got too much of that coming out. So it's just fucking what's going on? Fucking what? You fucking hey, De Niro, mate. Fucking hell.
You're sitting here for extortion. I'm sitting here for fraud. So there's a difference.
And what's the difference?
I didn't threaten anybody. You did.
Well, so what? That makes no sense.
What do you mean? It does.
No, it doesn't, but I don't want to debate.
Think about it.
Thinking about it, Jimmy. No, don't fuck with me, Jimmy. Just do something about it.
Hey, it's hot here in Florida, isn't it? I'm wearing fucking shorts and sandals.
It's a bad. I mean, it's just I couldn't enjoy the actual acting because the accent was so bad. It just ruined it for me. So that was a waste. Jesse Plemons is in there briefly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in there who are very good. So, great cast, but very much like it's like Avengers Endgame. Like, oh, here's Howard the Duck for 2 seconds and then moving on.
Yeah, and this is based on real people as well and all that, and it's largely true story. Well, it's sort of based on one bloke telling his story, which may or may not be true. How true they are. The Irishman. What else do we need to deal with here? It looks nice.
Yeah, the cinematography is great. It's a very glossy, accomplished film.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it really, like, individual scenes as well jumped out at me. There were moments where I was like, "Wow, Scorsese's the master," and some scenes that are very uneasy and unpleasant in a way that reminded me of what was missing, or really hammered home what was missing from Joker. More on that later. But yeah, overall, it did nothing to wow me. I don't think I'll ever watch it again. And I say this as a huge fan of Goodfellas and Casino. So, give me a 90-minute cut. That's what I want. It's not that it was too long and boring. It was just that, like, it didn't need it all. It didn't all have to be in there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think it would work better as a TV show. Like, you break it up a little bit, and it just feels a bit more like a novel. It like feels like you're going on a journey. You can go on these sidelines. You can have a bit of just lazing around for depth and all this.
Yeah.
Whereas a film needs to be a bit more snappy, I think. And but do people even remember Jimmy Hoffa anymore? Like, obviously, it's way before our generation. Plus, it was more of an American thing anyway. But like Jimmy Hoffa, like as they say in the film, like he was massively famous and then he disappeared. But I don't know if people know. It's like making a film about Lord Lucan. It's like, yeah, I know the name. I think, this is a film made for 72-year-old men.
I mean, you can make a film about someone without knowing who they were. Right? I just watched season 2 of American Crime Story about the assassination of Versace. Didn't have a fucking clue who any of those people were, even though it was a real thing, and I found it fascinating. But
I think really it's good. I think what I mean is, this is Scorsese and De Niro getting together and going, "Oh, this is a really interesting story. This person, yeah, I remember this." But that I don't know if that their audience is the same anymore.
I think maybe there's an argument that it's only an interesting story because it's real life, and if you haven't got that tie of, oh, I remember this happening and watching it, then it's a bit like, oh, it's just like every generic mob movie I've ever seen, and there's nothing to make this one stand out.
Well, the big thing about this, that seems to be Scorsese's thing in making this, is that it is kind of really highlighting that there's no winners in this world. Everyone either dies or they live miserably because they've scared their kids away and all this. Like, it's very much kind of him going, I've glorified the gangsters for so long. I need to make something that says, hey, it's not a good way to live, it's quite bad, actually. So that's what it feels like he's doing, and like literally putting on screen like, oh, this person got shot in the head. Like highlighting how everyone died with violence and stuff.
But they all died in really cool ways. Like, this guy thrown off a balcony, set on fire. That's a cool way to die. That's like, oh, nice. This guy shot in the face 8 times. This guy buried up to his neck in sand and then honey put all over his head so that bees come and eat his skin. And then it gets infected and dies of this guy. Like, there was no one in there who was like, this guy shat himself to death on the toilet like Elvis.
Because that's not a gangster life.
Yeah, well, you want to not glamorize it, do something like that. This guy, balls stamped on, bled out of his balls.
Anyway, shall we rate it?
I give it a 7 out of 10. Like, it does what it does, fine, and it's interesting, but I have no desire to revisit it ever.
I gave it a 6. Same sort of principle, basically.
Right. Well, I guess we're jumping forward to 1966.
But we've just been in the 80s when we finished on The Irishman, surely. Or the 90s
We've got to go back.
We've got to go back to the future.
DeLorean, this one, I guess?
I guess. Yeah, go for it.
What did I tell you? 88 miles per hour!
We are here. We've also jumped across the world again to Le Mans 66. Les
66.
Ford v Ferrari.
This is Ford v Ferrari, also known as Le Mans 66 outside of America. Anyway, so this film came out, in the middle of last year? Passed by without any notice. And for some reason, it's been nominated for Best Picture Oscar. What's that about?
It came out. It came out in November, so the very end of the year during awards season.
I missed it. I didn't notice it.
It met with significant acclaim.
I missed that.
Pretty positive reaction from audiences, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't. It was a bit of a surprise that it got a Best Picture nod, although I did predict it ahead of time with my Oscar predictions. I did predict this would be in there, yeah.
I wouldn't have said anyone would have predicted this. This is the most unremarkable film of the year.
It's a really inoffensive crowd pleaser. I'm not remotely surprised it's in here. It's the Green Book of this year.
No, but Green Book at least had a bit of emotional resonance to it. It had character. This is such a by the numbers basic film. I honestly cannot understand why this is getting any notice at all.
I liked it. I thought Christian Bale's always fun. Especially when he's doing a silly voice all the time. I'm Christian Bale. Bloody hell, it's my wife, driving like a maniac.
Yeah, he was fun, yes.
And then Matt Damon's in it.
He's doing Tommy Lee Jones impression all the way through.
Yeah.
I have no problem with them. It's just the plot is just... There's no conflict. Oh, well, there is conflict, but it's completely manufactured. It's just obviously not.
Look, I thought this, watching it, I thought this is such a blatant bit of let's turn this real life thing into the most kind of base, crowd-pleasing sort of drama that'll be nominated for Best Picture. but it's just entertaining in a very simple way. I think it's very like artificially assembled. Someone's really sat down and put the screenplay together scientifically.
There's no heart to it. There's no love in this. It's a business transaction.
But let's call it the McDonald's of legitimate cinema, as in not a superhero film. I think it does that trick very well. It's really nicely shot. The music's good. It's nicely edited, well acted. It's difficult to take issue with on any real level. I found it very entertaining, which I was surprised with because I have no interest whatsoever in motorsport or cars. I couldn't care less about them, but much like films like Black Swan made me find ballet temporarily interesting, this made me find motorsport temporarily interesting. I was invested in what was going on, and I cared about the characters, even though, like you say, the stakes are ultimately, some other people will win the race instead of these guys, and it doesn't, like, they're probably as worthy a set of winners as anyone.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I have nothing to say about it.
Well, I give it an 8 out of 10, which I think is going to piss you off.
That is remarkable. I give it a 6.
I mean, that is a low 8 out of 10, but,
exactly what it deserved, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a perfectly fine watch. But what? Like, at least with Jojo Rabbit, I don't know why it's getting nominated for awards, but at least it's doing something. It's doing something.
Well, I would argue that Jojo Rabbit doesn't work, whereas this works really well. It's a well-oiled machine.
I'd rather have a swing and a miss, though, than a safe...
Haven't you had your fill of that, Alan? You watched Cats the other week.
Yeah.
Cats. Noticeably absent.
Anyway, yeah, go on, I'll give it a 6. Let's move on because there's nothing to speak of here.
We're jumping forward 3 years now, so we can just wait this one out without a time machine.
Oh, good, we'll just do this in real time.
Yeah.
Irishman.
But we're jumping forward 3 years now to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, we have spoken at length. We did an entire episode on this.
Yeah, which is available on Patreon.
Yeah, bonus episode.
One of our bonus episodes. We've done 3, haven't we?
I think 3 to date, yeah. Full-length bonus episodes, yeah.
Patreon.com/Dim Returns. It's $1 a month. How little is that?
Yeah, and it was a good one, I think. I think it came out quite nicely.
What are we going to do then? Are we talking about this? Or
So, I don't know, maybe we'll drop a little clip in that truncated down to 5 or 10 minutes from like an hour and a half that we spent on this one for. I don't know.
I think Tarantino can just fuck off now.
Really? Wait.
I'm sick of you.
Really? You're telling me you didn't like this film? This aimless film when nothing happens and no one really does anything. You love that.
I like that when it's interesting characters and character-driven stuff. It's still got to have some purpose behind any of it.
Oh, these are interesting characters.
That don't do anything. And it doesn't tell a story. It doesn't...
You didn't like Brad Pitt's Cliff Booth?
No.
You didn't like Leonardo DiCaprio's Rick Dalton?
I quite liked him.
You didn't like my main man?
Who's that?
Come on, who am I talking about? Come on.
Who's your main man?
Come on.
I don't know. Actually.
Timothy Olyphant.
Oh yeah, you do like Timothy Olyphant. I thought he did a nice little job in this actually, little sort of scene stealing cameo in it. Really.
Look, I thought Brad Pitt was fantastic in this. I really like Brad Pitt. I thought Leonardo DiCaprio was very good as well. I liked their characters. I liked what they were going through. To be honest, I think the film lives and dies on those two characters. I don't think it has much to offer beyond them.
I think a film about those two guys could have been interesting. The problem is it's trying to tie it into the Sharon Tate murder, and all that aspect of it, that whole bit, is not interesting
until the ending.
And how you can take something like that and make it not interesting
until the ending.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, should we just address the whole Manson family stuff up front?
Spoiler alert.
So, basically, this film just repeats the trick of Inglourious Bastards.
Which is also a problem, because you've already done it.
Well, that's what I mean. Whereas, I get it. Tarantino's doing a kind of trilogy of alternate history movies that are, giving us cathartic takes on, wouldn't it be great if this was what happened instead? Rewriting history. And he did it with Inglourious Basterds. He did it kind of to a lesser extent with Django Unchained, and now he's done it with the Manson family murders Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The problem is, it is the exact same trick as Inglourious Basterds, and whereas I sung the praises of that film for finding a way to have its cake and eat it too, and to be truly surprising and unexpected and inventive and all these things, and to play into the fact that the whole film is about the nature of the relationship between reality and art, and the way that art shapes our reality, and the way that it's contextually justified and subtextually justified. In this film, it is just like, it's just a big joke, really, isn't it? And then it's kind of like, yeah, that'd be cool. Wouldn't it be great if they got their faces smashed in, those pricks? And it's just a bit like...
it's just Tarantino, we know, is so self-indulgent, and there's no one cutting him back. There's no one holding him back anymore because he's Tarantino, so they just let him do whatever he wants. And someone needs to go, fucking get a grip on yourself. Cut out all the Sharon Tate stuff because it's not interesting and it's not even relevant to the film. The only thing I can think of is that there were...
Being the filmmaker he is, and given that seems to be the purpose of this, I can forgive a degree of self-indulgence as long as he comes back and knocks out of the park with his next film. I agree this film is a completely meandering, self-indulgent film, and all the scenes run far longer than they ought to. But it's weird because it felt, when you're watching it, it feels like there's no plot here. This isn't going anywhere. But then almost every scene sets something up that pays off in the final confrontation, that big fight. Which is a weird way to kind of structure a film, but it kind of gets away with it, I would say. The problem is each of those scenes is maybe 10 minutes too long, and they should have just trimmed them down to fuck. The scene where you see Leonardo DiCaprio struggling to remember his lines, for example. We didn't need to see 20 minutes of this shitty TV Western he was making leading up to that. We only needed to see 3 minutes of that, perhaps, to get the point.
Yeah.
But Tarantino wants us to see his little playing in this other genre for 20 minutes.
The one bit I really liked was when Leonardo DiCaprio does the proper acting. And like they're doing the scene and we see a lot of it. And it is a bit like, is this DiCaprio being sort of a bit shit on purpose? Because like obviously he's a very good actor and he's not doing like comedy bad acting, but it is just like, this just feels like him phoning it in, which is supposed to be like an average actor. He goes away, pumps himself up and everything, comes back and fucking knocks the scene out of the park. And it's like, yes, that's Leonardo DiCaprio, fuck you. Yeah. And he does a great scene. And I like that. I like that. It's just like, that's just showing DiCaprio can do whatever he puts his mind to.
But in case we don't, remind me what you rated it, Alan, out of 10?
Well, I want to sum it up. I didn't like the film. I thought it was a real misfire. I didn't like it really on any level. Thought Leonardo DiCaprio was good. I give it 3 out of 10.
Oh, fucking hell. I don't remember it being that harsh. Well, I liked it. I thought it was Tarantino being very lazy and self-indulgent, but I'm alright with that. I gave it an 8 out of 10, but a low 8.
Yeah, definitely my worst film of the year.
Really? Wow.
Well.
All right. So now we're going to kind of jump forward an indeterminate number of years to a kind of quasi 80s, 70s. We don't really know.
Sort of New York 1980s.
I think it's actually modern day, but for the sake of this, we'll just kind of...
An 80s time machine. I've already done Bill and Ted and Back to the Future.
It's the Necronomicon from Evil Dead. It's the year 1999. We slept too long, Alan. Whatever year we're in, Joker. We spoke about this. We did a full episode, readily available to the public. So
you can go and
go back
listen to it now.
Yeah.
Do you want to know which episode number it was?
Yes.
All right. I don't know.
Here's a clip of that episode that we've edited down just for refreshing yourself purposes.
As a film, it's ambiguous in terms of what it's saying and why it's saying it and all this sort of thing. I think it's ambiguous. I'm not convinced that it's a filmmaker creating ambiguity. I think it's perhaps just they didn't really know what they were doing.
That's exactly my
where
take
I'm.
from it.
That's where I'm not sure where it falls, because it doesn't feel like the direction is solid enough in terms of like it knows what it's doing.
Look, the best take on this film I have heard, the thing where I listened to it and I went, of course, and it all clicked into place for me. And I am stealing someone else's opinion by saying this.
Can you credit them?
They were on the Slash Film podcast, and it wasn't Peter Cisaria. It was one of the other two.
Okay. That's close
enough. He said something to the effect of, this film thinks it's Martin Scorsese, but it's more like Michael Winner. And he wasn't even saying that as a complete and utter dismissal. He was just saying it thinks it's high art, but it's not. It's gritty, sleazy, B-movie exploitation cinema. It's like those other films in the 70s and 80s that were trying to rip off Scorsese, but without an understanding of what made them work. And that is this film. It's basically, it's a film that thinks it's so much more intelligent than it actually is. And it's a shame because there's a lot to love in this film.
Yeah.
But there's a lot
I think
hate.
you're exactly right. I think it just thinks it's cleverer than it is. I think that's exactly right. And I think that really appeals to a certain type of film audience.
Yeah.
We think we've discussed that before, haven't we? But I think for me, like, all the Batman stuff was a bit of a distraction, and I
God,
kept feeling
I don't mean
feeling
Batman.
like, oh, this doesn't need this. The story doesn't need it.
Take Batman out of the film, by all means, but the fact that it's the Joker in Gotham City, the fact that it's the Joker, I think that's the thing. I mean, the one of the worst.
It definitely sells more tickets, but does it make it a better film?
Yeah, because I think without that, this is just a film about an unpleasant man spiraling into psychosis, and frankly, I've seen that before. Yeah, but haven't you seen that a million times before? The same way that, you know, we've seen superheroes do XYZ a million times before. At least by making this connected to a huge, one of the biggest franchises in the world, it's an interesting experiment. The fact they've made like a 30 million character piece that's connected to superhero movies is kind of insane. And I'll be honest, and I'm really hoping you disagree with me here. I've got a feeling you're not going to disagree with me. I was not blown away by Joaquin Phoenix in this film.
It's funny. Those are the exact words I used when I was talking about it. I said I liked it. I thought it was good, but I was not blown away.
It's annoying because even people who don't like this film have largely all been praising his performance. And I went into this thinking, look, if I get nothing else out of it, I'm getting Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker. I love Joaquin Phoenix. I think he's a phenomenal actor. I prefer him as an actor to Heath Ledger. Is this on par with Heath Ledger's Joker? Is it? Fuck. Is it on par with Mark Hamill's Joker? Nope.
Is it? What about Jared Leto?
Oh, God. I mean, fuck's sake. That's not even... Doesn't even enter the conversation, Alan.
He's totally committed to it. You know, he's obviously gone full in. But ultimately, it feels a bit... I don't know. Superficial, is it? Is it too shallow?
Yeah,
is that what it is?
Yeah. Look, right, so... This is tied intrinsically to the Joker's characterization throughout the film. Now, I will acknowledge this is a reinterpretation of the character. There's no definitive take on the Joker. You can play with these things. However, generally speaking, in the comics I've read, in the films I've seen, in the games I've played, the Joker is meant to be a criminal mastermind, a real Machiavellian type. But more so, he's meant to be funny. And this film initially presents the Joker as... Because the Joker's always mentally ill, but he's usually mentally ill in that he's a psychopath or, things of that nature. Whereas this film just presents him as, like, uncharismatically mentally ill. I don't know how else to put it. It presents him as he doesn't understand how to interact with human beings. He doesn't understand humour. He doesn't understand society.
It's personality disorder, isn't it? I'm okay with that because I think that's 2019, isn't it? Like we look at mental health in a different way now. It's not just like wacky, funny mental illness now. It's
look, I'm not averse to them changing that aspect of the character. I'm not a big fan, however, that he then idiot savants his way through the second and third act of the film. Well, the third act of the film. If he's not a criminal mastermind, how come he's so good at, slipping around and eluding the police and so on? It's like the film can't decide if he's doing it on purpose or not. And more so than that, how come he suddenly becomes funny out of nowhere? He actually becomes quite witty and playful.
And can talk properly and stuff.
Yeah. He starts off the film being so, only in my mind, how come, knock knock, who's there? It's me, the Joker. And it's cringy. And then you get to the end of the film, and I was laughing out loud when he said his when he said, "Knock knock, who's there? It's the police. Your son's been in a serious accident." That's a classic joke. I've heard it before, but I mean, it's a classic for a reason.
This is something of a problem as well. Like, okay, first of all, I think the way that I deal with that is I think the entire third act is just in his head. But again, we'll look into that in a bit. But and again, this is where I don't know if the filmmakers are doing this deliberately, but that whole last bit where he becomes this Andy Kaufman-esque character on a TV show, I loved him. He's fantastic entertainment. It's like,
exactly.
But are we supposed to dislike him at that point? That's the sort of the ambiguity that I don't think is deliberate.
I don't think I did love him. I found his Joker quite unappealing in a way that I don't typically find the Joker, and I'll give the film credit. Maybe that's on purpose, but there was one scene that I will point to where this film worked for me, where this film clicked into gear and it was firing on all cylinders, and I loved it. And if the whole film had been like this, I would have loved it. And the main reason that it worked for me was his performance was pitch perfect. That Joker was fun and charismatic, but darkly scary, and it did everything at once that it was supposed to. Do you by any chance know the scene I'm talking about? Or was it just... I'm interested as to whether it stood out to you as much as it did to me, because it really was like leagues beyond the rest of the film for me.
No, nothing is jumping to mind. Go
on. So the scene where his two ex-colleagues come round to his flat to check up on him, and he brutally murders one of them with a pair of scissors. Now, the violence is raw, and that's something I'll say for this film. The violence throughout it is raw and unpleasant and brutal, and I thought that was great, because there's been a lot of criticism from people who I don't think have actually seen the film, that this film is going to glamorize violence and incite all sorts of God knows what, and I don't think it does glamorize violence. I think the way the violence is shot is very unpleasant in this film, and it's just matter of fact, and it kind of lets you sit in it in a way that isn't particularly fun. So that alone was kind of disturbing, and then to have Joaquin Phoenix just lying there splattered with blood, and this other guy in the corner going, "Oh!" And to be fair, maybe they could have cast a better actor for the other guy for the scene to work, because it was partly funny, just him going, "Oh, Arthur! Oh my God!" then, you know, Joaquin Phoenix just came into his own as the Joker there. And he started going, oh, top of the morning, don't worry about it, mate. And like laughing away. And then the guy awkwardly, you know, steps past him and he goes, rah! And like jumps and starts laughing. That is the Joker. That is playful, but evil and scary. And then the fact that it leads to this kind of punchline, this very uneasy joke of this little person struggling to reach the lock to let himself out of the flat, and then he has to ask Arthur, the Joker. And you can hear in his voice, to give the actor credit, he does a remarkable job there of portraying that kind of humiliation and having to ask him to be allowed to go. And then you get this weird moment of twisted morality from the Joker, and it just gives him all this depth. That whole scene was phenomenal, I thought. And if the whole film had been like that, I would have loved it. But it wasn't. And like I say, I just thought it was inconsistent. I realise I keep going off on all sorts of tangents here, but I thought the Joker was very inconsistent, and not in a good way. Because he wasn't like... He didn't seem to know what he was doing half the time. And not in a, I'm like a dog chasing cars kind of way. Just in a, I'm mentally ill and I'm going to climb inside the fridge kind of way. Like... Oh, and if you like that, guys, go and listen to the full episode. Still available.
It is episode 179.
Ding dong.
Oh, hello. Just open the door there.
Hello.
Oh,
it's
hello.
me, Joker.
Which Joker are you exactly?
I'm mad. I'm the office Joker. I colour in my teeth with highlighter pens. And then I go down to the bank and I take out £100 in pennies. And I throw them at pigeons. Because I don't like society.
I'm warming to him. I'm warming to the office joke. Is it possible the world treats you bad because you're an arsehole? Have you considered this possibility?
No. I am the disenfranchised underclass of society.
It's not like, why don't you try and overthrow the government or something? Do something useful. No. Can you accidentally start a riot by wearing a mask?
I do that. I go on dailymail.com, and where it says Harry and Meghan stepping back, I leave a comment that says, stupid bitch! And I'll get 725 likes.
That's quite an original, funny comment. How do you come up with these lines?
Anyway, I've got to dash.
Oh.
I'm going to go poke some holes in hovercrafts.
Where would you even find a hovercraft?
I'm gonna go and put some eggs in vegan cakes. You know how mad I am?
Oh, go on. How mad are you?
I went to see Joker in the cinema 3 times. All right, see it.
Nice. So that was what a typical listener just popped in.
Oh, God. Oh, Joker, though.
Yeah.
I mean, part of me wants to say it's nice to see genre film being acknowledged this way, but not like this, you know? That this isn't what we want. It's like an ironic Twilight Zone premise.
Yeah.
I read something the other day that really hammered home something that I hadn't quite articulated when we spoke about it, which is that the entire world it inhabits is just so fucking artificial. If the whole point of the film is a critique of society and the world and how it can turn good men evil, although plenty of people go through hardship and don't become murderers that we're supposed to be on side of. But anyway, if the entire point is that society is terrible, then present something resembling society in your film, as opposed to this completely inauthentic take on how a clown business would work, or how a chat show would work, or how stand-up comedy scene would work, or how or how a gang uprising would work. Like, nothing about the film is remotely legitimate or authentic, and so
yeah.
Fuck Joker. It pisses me off that it's in this running. It doesn't deserve to be here. Although I liked it more than Jojo Rabbit. If I try and be objective about it and take it on its own merits, at least it was a bold swing for something.
What did you rate it in the end?
I gave it a 6 out of 10.
I gave it a 7. It's not as clever as it thinks it is. I think that sums it up pretty well, doesn't it? And it's not as clever as everyone else thinks it is.
Yeah, and, watching Scorsese's The Irishman really hammered it home, what you get in a Scorsese film versus this is Scorsese light. It's Scorsese cosplay. It's a shitty knockoff Scorsese film. And it doesn't have anything to say other than, hey, I watched Taxi Driver and it was cool. I'm not sure I really understood it, but I'm going to do that, but with a clown. And that's this film. And, fair play. It's shot really nicely. The music's great. The acting is decent. It's fucking offensive. Again, we're talking about offensive nominations. It is offensive. This film is up for Best Adapted Screenplay. Even most people I know like the film will concede that it is a bad script that has been well put together. Anyway, moving on. Next up, we've got 2 left.
We'll go back to normal time.
To 2019, which is, I think, when Joker's set, but it's ambiguous, so it's not ambiguous anymore. Now we're definitively in 2019.
Yeah.
Let's hop in some sort of cryo tube.
Oh yeah, let's do Demolition Man. Let's freeze ourselves.
Yeah, let's do that
for several years.
Attention, stage 1. Laser cutting beginning. Laser cutting complete. Stage 2. Warm liquid goo phase beginning. Warm liquid goo phase complete. Stage 3. Reanimation beginning. Reanimation complete.
How refreshing.
Shall I go for a comically long piss?
Yeah.
It's funny when Mike Myers did it.
I'll wipe this goo off. You can do that. I'm not gonna have a proper. I'm just gonna have like I'm just gonna wipe myself with a flannel with some baby wipes. Parasite, arguably the Roma of this year's Oscars. A foreign darling. Beloved by filmy people, really, really latched onto by filmy people who seem to see something in it that I don't.
Yes.
Unlike Roma, I do like Parasite. I don't want to come across like I'm slagging it off, but I watched this film earlier this year. It was getting a lot of buzz, this great Korean film, and I thought, yeah, it was a nice little foreign film. Nothing remarkable.
Yeah.
But enjoyable. I liked it. And now suddenly it's up for Best Picture, and some people think it's going to win. In fact, people are calling it like the best film of the decade. I just don't get it.
Well, I agree. I enjoyed it, but I don't know what the next level is. But I do think if you're the Academy and you want to throw a foreign film in your Best Picture nominees, then do the one that won the Palme d'Or. It's a pretty safe bet. You can't go. At least you're not going to embarrass yourself. Yeah, I agree with you. I enjoyed it. I feel like there is it's saying something about society and class, but I don't think it really quite made it. Or it's not saying anything particularly amazing.
And I've seen loads of praise for it being so twisty and turny and going in different directions, but I think it actually just felt quite disjointed. Do you know what I mean? Like it pursued tangents, and I don't think it necessarily felt like the most beautifully constructed whole as a result of it.
So yeah, it is Bong Joon-ho, who's a pretty renowned director already. I'm sure you've seen a few of his films before. One of his favourite actors in it, who I've seen in those films of Bong Joon-ho that I've seen. So yeah, it's now which one is it? I'm not familiar with their names here. And I think the point is it's about class. Like, who is the real parasite? Is it this family that are creeping into this rich people's house, or is it the rich people who are leeching off the poor for their labour and not paying them enough or whatever? But I don't know, is that the point? But if you're going to do that, make it clearer, I guess. Make it...
Yeah, and I'll be honest, if you're just going to give me a critique of the class system in South Korea, I mean, Gangnam Style did that in 4 minutes. It was much more enjoyable, so just give me that.
Let's actually talk about the film a little bit. Maybe some spoiler alerts in here, because there's a few things that might come up. So you've got this sort of very poor family who are kind of scrabbling around in some shitty little basement apartment and trying to earn money where they can. But you do get the impression that they're willing to work. They're just... the opportunities aren't there. An opportunity arises, and I like the way that this progresses. So the first time you get this kid, this young lad, and he basically has to lie to get this job. He has to forge his papers, but they even make a point of him going like, no, I don't feel like this is forgery because I'm just sort of, I haven't got this qualification yet, but I will, and so I'm just helping myself out. And it's kind of like, it's still morally kind of high ground. Then they talk his sister into the job, and that's kind of a little bit more like morally ambiguous because, you know, she's basically bullshitting, but then she's teaching art, which is bullshit anyway. So it's like, okay, who's being hurt? They're just getting money out of these rich people because they're, you know, whatever. And then it's like they're starting to make other people lose their jobs in order to benefit them. And I like this sort of progression where you're kind of going along with them. You go, okay, yeah, that's fair enough. Like, yeah, they're still the good guys. And then you sort of like going, okay, no, this is like getting out of hand now. And that's kind of throughout the film as it keeps going further and further and further. I like that. In terms of writing, that works because it brings you along with them. And you got this rich family, but they're not particularly portrayed as like a horrible rich bastards or anything. So I guess points for subtlety, but if we're supposed to be, I don't know what I'm supposed to feel about them, you know? Like, or what, like, or the only way I can make something deeper out of this is if there's something more to them, which there isn't. Do you know what I mean? And like the kids, we never really get any development out of, even though the boy falls in love with this girl, and like that never really feels genuine.
I watched it and I thought, yeah, nice little film. A lot of unexpected plot developments, satisfying, good acting, quirky. You know, I enjoyed it, but I suppose I didn't really think about it on any real deeper level, which perhaps I should have done. And maybe that's why I didn't come away as blown away by the film as other people.
Yeah,
seem
but
to.
I like I say, because of all the attention it's got, I've tried to find it on a deeper level and haven't. Like, I'm not an idiot. Like, what am I missing here?
Yeah, it's all right. I liked it. 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I liked it. 7 out of 10.
Well, we're going out on a high note for me.
All right.
Last film to talk about, Marriage Story.
Yeah.
Noah Baumbach. Yeah, I'll just say it. My favourite of this selection of films.
Yeah.
Actually, not by a considerable amount, because 1917 was also very good. But no, I really like this film. I don't know, it just did it for me, you know? It's very... It reminded me of Kramer versus Kramer, which I'm sure you've seen.
That, yeah.
And I love Kramer versus Kramer.
Yeah.
I suppose I don't really know what this subgenre is, but I really like it. I've not really seen anything from Noah Baumbach before. I have seen Greenberg, but I don't think that one counts. Adam Driver, phenomenal. I think he's a great actor. I think he is probably my pick for best performance lead actor of the year based on this film. You've not really been sold on him in the past. Has this film done anything to win you over to Team Driver?
Let me ask you a question, though. What do you think I felt about this film?
I I don't know, you're difficult, Alan. You could be anything from absolutely loving it to despising it. Or, you could just be complete indifference. I really don't know with you. I think I would have thought you'd like this film because it's quite a cynical slice of life without much story. It really is just a character piece, and I think it does it very well. And there's some great performances to guide you through it. So if you can get over the Randy Newman music in the background, then...
Yeah, I think on paper this sort of should tick a lot of boxes. It does appeal to a lot of things that I like. And I did enjoy it, but my problem was it really wound me up. Like, all the things are happening. Because, and it's deliberate. Like, the film is sort of exposing just, like, how horrible marriage is and how horrible the divorce system in America is. And it just wound me up so much that I couldn't enjoy the film.
Oh, well, you definitely shouldn't watch Uncut Gems then. Because, I mean, again, that is like, it's one of the most tense thrillers I've seen in recent years, and it's all because the main character's an idiot who makes bad decisions. But so like,
but like that was basically my problem watching Marriage Story. Even though I like all the pieces together are great, it was just I found it very difficult to watch. And I think, like I say, I think that means it's successful in what it's trying to do. It's showing this side of stuff, but that meant it just was not an enjoyable watch for me, and that sort of affected it. I also think that it's ultimately quite a simple film.
Oh yeah, God yeah, of course it is.
And it is just like, well, yeah, Kramer versus Kramer. Like, you make this 40 years ago and it'll win Best Picture Oscar, but it feels like you could make this story 40 years ago. I'm not sure anything's changed really.
Yeah. That's fine, though. I don't need every film to reinvent the wheel. I think it is doing something very simple, but I think it's doing it very well, and that's fine. I'm happy to watch a simple story told well.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know, I was slightly underwhelmed, maybe. That's probably a little bit harsh. I'm not sure, really. But I did enjoy it. Like, basically, I didn't enjoy it, but I thought it was a good film.
Right.
Like, I thought the acting was great. Yeah. So Adam Driver specifically, like I've only really seen him in Star Wars, which is obviously just I thought it was very good, and I see why you like him. I did particularly think, though, isn't he going to make a great old man? Like, there's just something about him that will really work as like a 60-year-old, and I think it's going to be great. He's very grounded. He's very sort of strong, like, not physically, but you know what I mean. Just sort of like, he has a great presence. He's good. I like him. Scarlett Johansson is one of those people who obviously is a good actor, and she's great in this. But I always feel like she's acting. If you know what I mean.
Scarlett Johansson I really like, but I could take her or leave her in this film. She doesn't really wow me here. She's doing some proper acting, unlike Jojo Rabbit, but whatever. She doesn't do anything to wow me here.
I think she has her moments.
She's fine in it. She's good. I would say she's a supporting actor rather than a lead actor in this, but I
wouldn't agree with that. I think she has her own moments, her own character stuff. She's not.
Well, yeah, but she's not the lead, is she?
I think they're co-leads. I haven't got a problem with that.
I think Adam Driver's the protagonist of the film, and she's the biggest supporting character.
No, I don't think that's fair, because it's not just his character arc. She goes through her own thing.
I think it is. I think it's told from his perspective.
Well, no, we see her doing stuff that he's not related to.
Nah. Even if we go off screen time, it's got to be like 60-40, 70-30, something like that. There's no way it's 50-50.
That's okay.
I don't like this whole 2 lead actors in a film bullshit the Oscars tries to pull. It's like when they gave what's his name? The guy with the eyes. Fuck, what's his name? Forrest Whitaker. It's like when Forrest Whitaker got Best Lead Actor for playing Idi Amin, even though he's like a supporting actor.
Yeah,
pisses me off.
I think in this case it's fine. I've not got a problem with that.
I don't know. I really enjoyed every little scene just on its own. It felt like a series of short films that were kind of loosely connected, I think.
I thought that as well. I didn't necessarily think that was a good thing.
Normally
in terms
that
of
might...
the flow of the film. But I thought the exact same thing. These scenes, it felt very sort of disjointed scenes.
Yeah, normally that sort of thing would annoy me. But I liked it. I liked seeing him... I mean, that was my favourite moment, was when he cut his hand and then had to
That was like...
So just put this broad comedy moment in the middle of this drama.
Like that, yeah. And then Wallace Shawn. It's like, what are these moments? Like, it felt like it was just didn't know what its tone was.
I've heard a lot of people call this film a comedy, and I think it's very firmly a drama that just has one big comedy scene in the middle. It has a couple of little comedy moments, but it's not a comedy, no. I mean, Laura Dern is well worth mentioning, giving her...
Yeah, you love Laura Dern now.
Yeah, and I used to find her annoying and not understand what the appeal was, and this converted me. She's great in this film. Scene stealing in quite a small amount of screen time, really. I think she's going to win the Oscar for this film.
I think
for
she's
Best
good.
Supporting Actor.
Partly the problem is that the character she's playing is so hateable. So
yeah, but you seem to really struggle with objectivity. I can also, I think criminally overlooked at all the awards is Alan Alda, who I think
he's
gives
great.
a fantastic. I mean, it's Alan Alda being Alan Alda, but do you need anything more than that? He's brilliant. I love him, and he's great in this. And I think it's a real shame that he's not really being acknowledged anywhere.
Yeah, that's the sort of performance that slips into Best Supporting Actor, like an old fella.
Yeah.
Ray Liotta was a nice little highlight as well.
Yeah, he was good. Yeah,
doing his. Do you know what? I actually really rate Ray Liotta. He's one of those people who, like, every time I see him, I go, "Do you know what? He's really good," and then you kind of forget because he's never had this real standout role. Goodfellas, I guess. It's a real actor's film. I think it's one of those films that's obviously tailored to allow the actors to come through, and if it's got a good enough story that actually holds together, it's still put together well. But the thing is, a film like this, I want it to be an indie film. I don't want it to be a big award baiting film. I want it to be dirty and grimy and small. And
I think there's room for both.
I know, but I like my films small.
I wish you'd seen Uncut Gems, Alan. I really do. I wish it had been up for Best Picture, like it deserved to be, because...
Now, you did say, Marriage Story has a score by Randy Newman.
Yeah.
Oscar nominated, in fact. I honestly, if we'd been talking here and you'd said, "Oh, isn't it interesting? This film had no score at all. That was unusual." I would have gone, "Oh yeah, I suppose so." No, I did not notice the score whatsoever.
Oh,
and this
come
was
on!
After honestly, I did.
It's
I
the
don't know if I
most
just don't, I think I might be
overbearing.
deaf to music. I don't. know if I can
You
do
thought
that.
1917 was overbearing. This was the most overbearing. Adam Driver, closing a door, just bland drama, nothing interesting. Do 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 boop boop boop.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again because I honestly did not. I cannot tell you anything about music in this film.
It's just Randy Newman plonking on his piano. Scarlett Johansson walking down the street.
So,
and
little
the
quiz,
driver cuts his hand like meat. Oh no, the blood's coming through the shirt. Will the Child Protective Services opportunity be hurt? Maybe. Yeah.
So I've got a little quiz for you. Randy Newman has been Oscar nominated twice this year for the score for that and for song for Toy Story 4. How many Oscar nominations has Randy Newman had altogether?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Right, Toy Story, 2 for Toy Story, I reckon. Maybe 1 for Toy Story 2 for the song but not the score. Probably the same again for Toy Story 3. I reckon 2 for Tangled.
I reckon
he got
correct in most of these by the sounds of it. Yes.
I reckon he got both
Tangled.
for Tangled, score and song, I reckon. But I think
Tangled.
he won for Tangled.
I'm not seeing anything for Tangled here.
Did he do the music for Tangled? Am I confusing it with something
Well,
else?
if
Oh
he
shit!
did,
No,
he-
sorry. He didn't do Tangled, did he? He did The Princess and the Frog, and then
Yes.
they got the other shit. Right, starting
You
again.
got-
Toy Story 1, 2, 3. So the 4 for the 3 Toy Stories. Princess and the Frog. I reckon he got a song nomination, but nothing else.
Okay, yeah.
I reckon maybe he got something for A Bug's Life.
Yes.
I'm trying to think what other Pixar films he scored. Before they started getting good people like Michael Giacchino in.
There's two more Pixar films.
Did he do something like When Harry Met Sally?
Well,
I feel like
no,
he did
not.
an old 80s film or something. No.
Yeah, there is an 80s. There's a few 80s ones.
Pixar. Well, it's not The Incredibles. It's not. Cars?
Cars, yeah.
Yeah. And. Cars 2?
No.
Is there no song for Cars? Cars 3?
No.
No, neither song nods for that. No, okay.
All right, I'll go through them for you, right?
All right, come on.
We'll go through in chronological order. Score and song for Ragtime.
Ragtime is ragtime. What time is it? It's ragtime.
Best original score for The Natural.
It's a natural, the way I look at you, the way you look at me. It's all that I can't see. It's so natural.
Original song for Parenthood.
Parenthood. I'm your dad. You're my mom. Today we're going in the sun. It's Parenthood.
Best original score for Avalon.
And when I see you, I feel alone. It's Avalon.
Avalon. Best original song for The Paper. I don't know what the fuck that is.
The paper, don't cut yourself on the paper. It's arriving today. It's the paper and the news today. What's happening? Some bad stuff.
It's a Ron Howard film. Okay, then we've got best score and best original song for Toy Story.
Toy Story! Toy Story! How many stories do you know? I know one, it's called Toy Story.
Well, you know what song that was?
Do you got with me?
Okay, then we've got best score, musical or comedy, for James and the Giant Peach.
James and Giant Peach, how big is your peach? Oh no, my peach is so big you couldn't eat it if you tried.
And then for the 98 Oscars, he was nominated for 3 different Oscars for 3 different films. So best score drama for Pleasantville.
Pleasantville, how nice is it over here in the TV? It's very pleasant in Pleasantville. In the TV.
Best score musical or comedy for A Bug's Life.
Is it Ants with Woody Allen? No, it's A Bug's Life.
And then best original song for Babe, Pig in the City.
Oh, it's a pig. Oh, it's a city. It's a pig in the city. It's Babe. Babe.
Do you know what the song was?
You got a pig in the city.
It's called That'll Do. Oh yeah, best original song for Toy Story 2.
Toy Story 2. You still got a friend in me.
Do you know what the song was?
When I was a toy, we used to hang out. It was beautiful.
It's called When She Loved Me.
Yeah. It's the one with Jesse, isn't it?
Best original song for Meet the Parents.
Oh, it's De Niro. Oh, it's the Stiller. My name is Ben the Stiller. And I'm gonna see you, De Niro. And I can lie to your face, but you know, 'cause you're a human lie detector. Puff the Magic Dragon. It's the song about a dragon. It's not about weed.
2002. Best original score and best original song for which film?
Oh, 2002.
2001, the film.
Monsters, Inc.
Monsters Inc.
Oh, of course. I know that as well. It's, if I were a rich man with trouble or two, couldn't be nothing if I didn't have you.
What now? Nothing if I didn't have you.
That was his first win for that song.
That was his first win? He didn't win for Toy Story?
Nope. Best original song for Cars.
Boom, 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 boom. It's a car with a face.
For the song, do you know what the song was called?
No.
Our
It can't be true.
Best original song for 2 different songs from Princess and the Frog, because the Academy really has run out of ideas.
Papa, I don't have time for dancing. That's just gonna have to wait a while.
Do you know what the other one is?
If you got some friends on the other side.
Down in New Orleans. Next one, which he also... This was the other one he won. Toy Story 3 for Best Original Song. For the song...
Lots of hugging bear. Gonna hug you. Lots of hugging bear. Toy Story 3.
We Belong Together. Yeah, and then this year's nominations as well. 22 altogether.
Jesus Christ. Deserve it?
Okay, so what's your pick then?
What, to win? Best Picture?
What do you think? What's your favourite is Marriage Story. What do you think is going to win?
1917. I think pretty firmly, actually. I
agree, probably, yeah.
I was initially saying it that it was all to play for, but I think it's probably 1917. I mean, there could be an upset. It could be Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
No.
It could be. Could be Parasite.
My top rated one was 1917. It was the only one I gave an 8 to.
Oh shit, yeah, what did you give Marriage Story?
7.
I gave it an 8. I think Marriage Story deserves it, but it won't win.
I wouldn't be totally shocked if it did.
Yeah, it wouldn't be. It's not outside the realm of possibility. If it wins, it'll be the same thing as Green Book, where it was everyone's second or third pick, because it's very hard to dislike.
Adam Driver's a pretty good shout for Best Actor, because it is...
Yeah,
that's the sort of Oscar that film will win.
I do not think he's going to win it. I would love it if he did. I think it's going to be Joaquin Phoenix, but if anyone's going to upset that, it will be Adam Driver in Marriage Story.
Yeah. I haven't seen Banderas or Jonathan Pryce yet.
Banderas was very good in that film, Pain and Glory, but I mean, I'd go with DiCaprio or Adam Driver over him, certainly.
I haven't seen Bombshell, Judy, or Harriet, so...
I have seen Bombshell. And I have to say, I really enjoyed it. It's very much a crap Adam McKay knockoff by, what's his name? Austin Powers director. Jay Roach. Trying to follow in the heels of the Ferrari brothers and Adam McKay. But I really enjoyed it in spite of that, the same way I enjoy Pepsi, even though it isn't Coke. It's not nearly as good, but very good acting, interesting, fun film. And, I mean, Margot Robbie was by far and away the best thing in it, so I think it's wonderful she's been nominated for Best Supporting Actress, rather than just giving it to her for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like I thought they were going to do. Charlize Theron I like a lot, but I don't know if it was a awards-worthy performance she gave, personally.
I wouldn't be surprised if Scarlett Johansson won that.
It's going to be Renee Zellweger for Judy. She's the favourite.
All right, okay. I haven't seen that, but it is exactly the sort of role that's going to garner you away.
I haven't seen it either, but I mean, I can believe it. That's the favourite, and I can totally believe she's going to win. But actor in a supporting role is an interesting one, because the bookies' favourites is Brad Pitt, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He's been winning all the other ceremonies. I've got a feeling Tom Hanks is going to be an upset here. I think he's going to steal it away. I think not only is he very good in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, but I think that Mr. Rogers he's such a big part of so many people in America's upbringing, and he means such a lot to them that I just think and it's Tom Hanks. They love Tom Hanks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not fussed about Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I don't think he's doing anything special there.
I think he's very good. I think he's worth nominating, but I wouldn't give him the award over Tom Hanks personally.
I think it would feel like kind of lifetime achievement thing.
Yeah.
Rather than for that film particularly. I don't think that's justified. I don't think Brad Pitt is a particularly great actor. I think he's a great star.
I think he's incredibly charismatic, and that goes a long way.
Oh yeah, I've got no problem with him, and I think he's actually I think he's a competent actor, and I've seen him do a couple of good things, but I don't think he's really name going down in Oscar history worthy, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Anthony Hopkins in that either, but
Laura Dern's going to win supporting actress. I think out of the nominations, I would give it to Margot Robbie in Bombshell, but Laura Dern is very, very worthy of it, I would say. Director's going to be Sam Mendes, 1917. I think people will respond to the technical achievement.
Yeah, I think we can say the same for cinematography without too much trouble.
Oh, no question, cinematography. Original screenplay, it's a tough one. I think that will be Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because they'll go, this is a very written film. This film's been very written, and we're gonna respond to that.
Honestly, I would go Marriage Story there.
I would, on my own personal preference, definitely, but I don't think that's going to be...
1917 is a miss there. That feels out of place. It's like, that's, of all the things you can praise about that film, it's not...
Yeah, I agree.
You know, it just doesn't make much sense.
Oh, completely agree, yeah. And on the same level, Joker in adapted screenplay. And Jojo Rabbit, frankly. For a film that was blatantly so heavily improv, it's a bit... questionable. I think that's going to go to The Irishman, I reckon. Maybe Little Women. I don't know. It could go anywhere, that, really. What else have we got? Editing. Who cares? Editing could go to any of them. Production design deserves to go to 1917. I'm not sure it necessarily will. Costume, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or Little Women. I think it'll be one of those two. Makeup could easily go to... Well, any of those, really. I think it'll probably be Bombshell, but music, I reckon, will go to Joker. Don't care about sound. Been 1917, anyway. Visual effects probably ought to go to The Lion King, I would say, but I think it's going to go to 1917.
I mean, yeah, one thing The Lion King's got...
It's just a special effect for an hour and a half. Don't care about documentary. Animated feature film, probably going to be Toy Story 4. But I would be so happy if Toy Story 4 lost out to I Lost My Body.
Well, I watched I Lost My Body yesterday.
Go on.
I know you've really been raving about this. It's your second favourite film of the year, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's why I watched it. I wouldn't have otherwise. And I was just curious, is there another I Lost My Body and I watched the shit one?
Fuck off.
I don't know what.
What's it even about? It's just a hand.
It's in French. I didn't hate it or anything. No, I was being a little bit exaggerating there. But I don't really get why you think it's so amazing. So I'd love to hear what you want to say about it. If you'd like to do a little thing now, go.
I just thought it was completely captivating. It's a very offbeat premise that certainly my sort of thing, a disembodied hand walking around. You get a lot of just action, I suppose it is, really, with the hand defending itself against rats with a lighter and trying to crawl around. But then you also have that offset with this very relatable human level drama of this kind of
creepy stalker
French guy and this woman
that you
that
apparently
he's
relate
infatuated
to.
with. I think it's very relatable, yeah. On both sides of the coin, you know. I think his story and her story are both very relatable. And I like the way it coalesces. I enjoyed it a lot, and I thought the animation was lovely as well.
I don't know. It didn't say anything to me, and I don't know. I was just sort of not very fussed, really.
Did you like it more than Toy Story 4?
Yeah, I probably did. Yeah, I gave it a 6 out of 10 for whatever that's worth.
I think that's what you gave Toy Story 4. So
yeah, but at least they were trying with this. At least they were doing something. Toy Story 4 was fucking cash in.
Yeah.
I'll give them that.
It's a difficult one to predict this because I think Toy Story 4 is the obvious favourite. It's the safe bet. Everyone loves Toy Story.
Well, no, because Toy Story 4 was quite crap, though.
But that's it. I think
like
enough people... Yeah, but I think enough people are a bit miffed and not that impressed with Toy Story 4 that there could be an upset here. Missing Link won the Golden Globes category here. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a real upset and it went to I Lost My Body or to Missing Link or... God forbid, How to Train Your Dragon 3 or Claws even. Claws would be a worthy winner, but it's probably the bottom of the pile of likelihood. But yeah, an interesting one, that one. Interesting to see where that goes. Then there's some short films, international shit. Song, probably going to be some bullshit song out of Rocket Man. I wouldn't have even nominated the songs they've nominated. So yeah, Oscars. What's our Diminishing Returns Best Picture of the year, Alan?
I don't know. You're the keeper of the numbers.
Probably fighting with my family or some shit, knowing you. Although you didn't like that, though, did you? Probably Zombieland 2, actually. It probably is Zombieland 2.
It's good, that. Zombieland 2 was good. You can't deny that.
Any snubs you want to talk about? I must say I'm surprised Booksmart didn't get a look in anywhere. I thought it would get an original screenplay nod or something like that. And I thought,
I haven't seen that one yet.
Beanie Feldstein as well. I thought might squeeze a supporting actress nod in. Decent film. Again, wasn't blown away by it personally. Liked it. The Farewell, I'm very surprised didn't get anything at all. I thought Susan Zhao for supporting actress and the music were both shoo-ins. Knives Out, really surprised that didn't get anything beyond a screenplay nod. I thought that would be one of the big contenders.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised by that because it did quite well, didn't it? Like it got
people love it. I'm a bit surprised. I kind of thought Eddie Murphy was going to get nominated for Best Lead Actor off the back of Dolomite Is My Name. He would have been an upset, a bit of a surprise, but I kind of thought the Academy love Eddie Murphy and they love a comeback story, and I just thought the stars would align for him. Yeah. Rocket Man, pretty much snubbed out. I don't think it got nominated for anything beyond the original song, which is a real shame because it's a really well-directed film and if nothing else, sound mixing. I mean, come on, it deserves everything Bohemian Rhapsody got nominated for. Jesus. So yeah, do you want to know my top 10 of the year as it stands, Alan?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's a shame. There's so many films I want to name check in here that aren't even in the 10. But let's go with top 10. Let's be restrained. Number 10, Captain Marvel. This is an update, you see, from last time. Review of the year. I've seen more films. Captain Marvel. Number 9, Avengers Endgame. Number 8, and this is really going to make me seem bad, Godzilla King of the Monsters. I promise there's some proper films coming up. Number 7, Toy Story 4. I liked it. Number 6, El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie. I rewatched that again the other night, Alan, because I rewatched all of Breaking Bad, and I thought, well, I'll cap it off with El Camino. Now I've just revisited the series and see how it stands up, and it's a really solid little bit of fun. Anyway, top 5. Now this is good shit. This is like proper films.
I hope so, because it's been pretty crap so far.
Number 5, 1917.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
late entry.
Yeah. Number 4, Uncut Gems.
Another one, late entry. Yeah, I haven't watched it yet.
Completely snubbed out of the Oscars. It is pretty criminal the more I think about it. It deserved a Best Picture nod. Adam Sandler deserved a Best Lead Actor nod. Maybe some other stuff, but they're the two obvious ones. We'll talk about it when you've seen it, but see it. Number 3, Marriage Story.
Okay, yeah, good.
Number 2, I Lost My Body.
Strange choice. But
Number 1, Us.
Us holding on to that place, snubbed by the Oscars.
Yeah, I mean, I knew Us wasn't going to get anything, but if they'd been kind to it, Lupita Nyong'o would have been nominated for Best Lead Actress, I think. And music, I think it deserved a nod for its music.
Yeah. If you wanted to know more about your thoughts on us, what would you do about that?
Oh, God, we did a whole episode on it, didn't we? Over at Patreon, dimreturns.com. No, shit, what is it? Patreon.com/dimreturns.
Yes, $1 a month for extra content. Some full episodes, mostly. Mini reviews of stuff that have just come out. Such as the ones you've heard in this episode on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Joker we did full episodes on. Oh well.
Yeah.
Do you want one last Oscars trivia question? So Roger Deakins, he's probably going to win Best Cinematographer for 1917. He won for Blade Runner 2049 a couple of years ago.
Gorgeous
film. That famously was his first win after being nominated many times. So how many times has he been nominated in total?
30.
Not quite that many.
21.
15, including this year. It was his 14th nomination that he finally won. After, and that's over 23 years. Pretty good going.
Well, there you go, guys. Keep trying. Stick with it. You too can win an Oscar long after the point that your career has reached a point where you probably don't give a shit because you're like the most respected person in your field anyway.
All right.
Right. What's next week? Is Calvin back?
I don't know.
Oh, by the way, everyone, Calvin's watched none of these films. We haven't just omitted him.
we invited him. He's just shit at going to the cinema.
He's literally not seen a single one of these films yet, so that's why he's not here. Otherwise, we'd be talking to him about it. Next week, Love is in the Air. Love is in the air.
Every time I look around,
making me Wendy.
So it's Valentine's Day special next week.
Keep on dancing. Keep on dancing.
So long.